Hello everyone, Xander here. Before you check out our newest episode of Xsgaming Podcast, I did want to apologize for the beginning of the episode. We were having some technical difficulties using Skype. But anyway, guys, it all clears up and you won't want to miss this episode. I hope you enjoy.
You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Skullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are checking us out, and welcome to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. This is episode 114, and we're recording this on the 26th of January. I had to look at the date. I'm your host, Xander Skullion, and join with me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope this nice January day bodes you well wherever you may be. But enough about me. We hadn't really announced anything, but we actually have a very, very special guest this evening, one we talked to for a little while about getting onto the show, and you know, things happen, it just didn't happen, and we wanted to catch him one final time while all three of us are still good old Carolina boys. You know, he's got to be one of the fastest growing video game channels on YouTube. I think one of the best, just one of the coolest guys you can talk to on there. He shuts up all the haters that talk their crap. He wants a Wendy's on every corner. And he's the only other adult I know that's actually kind of excited about the Labo. So we'd like to welcome to the show for the first time, Mr. Shawn Long, a.k.a. the infamous RGT85.
I can't follow up that intro. Like, that's such a... That's such good promotion.
I tried.
Yes, it is I, RGT85. Thank you for having me on the channel. And yes, North Carolinian for at least 3 more weeks, roughly.
It's a good place to be. I understand I've lived here my whole life, but I truly understand for people that, you know, feel the need to, you know, go somewhere else and move on. Like, as in your case, you know, to bigger and better things. It's a good state for some. It's just not for everybody.
Yeah, I moved here when I was like in high school, so I've been here for half my life. But I don't know. I've always felt you know, a more connection with the Northeast, where I'm originally from. So I think it was just a matter of time before I made my way back up there.
Indeed. I mean, I think, Shawn, the fondest memory I have of you is when we got to actually meet up at the Fayetteville Comic-Con. And I remember me and my girlfriend at the time were vaping a whole lot. And when we would go outside for a smoke, our vape kept attracting yellow jackets and wasps, and you kept punching them in the face and saving us.
Yeah, I didn't want them around. I don't like those things. So do what you got to do.
But I remember like a freaking like wasp come out of nowhere, and Sean's like, "What the hell is this thing?" And like just swing at it. I'm like, "Holy shit, he's gonna punch it." But yeah, I mean, first of all,
they love.
Oh, what's that?
Oh no, you go.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, Skype's being really crazy right now, but no, I was gonna say was I couldn't believe like you were sitting there swinging at him and like ready to go freaking Mike Tyson on him. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't like bugs, and so they come near me, I start swinging.
You got to take them out. I've got a very deadly samurai sword chop with my parcel markers. I use at work if a wasp ever gets in my mail truck. I'm very good with a one hit, one kill. I even totally split one in half one time. I was proud of that.
Holy shit.
Nice.
Well, I mean, since we have you on the show, Shawn, and I mean, James did a really good job, you know, announcing your entrance to this show. But how about you tell some of our listeners who may not know about your channel, what all do you do? I mean, we know you do a show on video games, but, you know, a little bit more on that, you know?
Originally the channel was supposed to just be a way for me to talk about Sega stuff because I was doing stuff with Nintendo Enthusiast YouTube channel, and any sort of retro stuff wouldn't do very well on it, and it didn't really make much sense to do any Sega stuff on there either because it was a Nintendo channel. So I really started this just as like a side project, just to talk about different sorts of games that wouldn't be applicable to an audience that was primarily Nintendo people. And then I don't know, I just started dabbling in other stuff, and now it's really become sort of a gaming variety channel with a strong focus on, I guess, Switch stuff and retro stuff, Sega stuff, and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's really good, man. And that's what I like about your channel. I feel like you're a jack of all trades when it comes to that sort of stuff because, I mean, you'll do, news topics, then you'll do like a review, then you do like product reviews, which is really awesome because I feel like we don't get enough like product reviews on YouTube when it comes to a lot of the retro stuff. I mean, a lot of people do like pickups and be like, oh, I got this, new controller from Retrobit, but you kind of go more in depth. And I mean, one of the things I like about your channel is I like a lot of the reviews you do on clone consoles as well, because I mean, right now with retro being so big, we have so many clone consoles coming out. And I mean, there's plenty of times when me and James would talk about a clone console, and we're like, well, just wait to see what RGT85 has to say about it. You're like our guinea pig of clone consoles because there's so many. I mean, I feel like every week is like, oh, new HD SNES is coming out, Yeah,
it's pretty crazy how many different companies are making different consoles, and I don't know. I like clone consoles. I think they're fun. I have way too many of them now, but yeah, I don't know. I just enjoy seeing what works on them and testing them out and seeing how the image looks and whatever. It's fun. It's fun, and it doesn't hurt when most of the time it's just a free thing to try out. I think the only one I bought recently was the Retron NES thing because I don't know, Hyperkin doesn't like me for some reason. They never send me anything, so that one I picked up, and most of the companies actually like reach out to me. They're like, hey, will you check this out if we send it to you? I'm like, yeah, sure.
I had to say out of the clone companies, Retrobit's probably my favorite. I'm not really big on Hyperkin. I was kind of burned after the Retron 5. I was just like, oh, screw Hyperkin after that. But Retrobit's always been really good about making really good stuff. And, I mean, recently, they've been embracing, Sega Genesis and Sega Saturn Dreamcast. So that's automatically a key to my heart right there.
Yeah, and they're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the future from what I've heard with Sega stuff. So it should be pretty exciting.
Indeed.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing to see them have, officially team up with them to put out a lot of the controllers, to finally get, some wireless ones, Bluetooth, it'd be a good experience for so many people. And I've really enjoyed their, of course, the one that everybody kind of frowns upon and tells people to avoid, the Retrobit Generations, which it was one after I didn't even mention it here on our show just because I was so underwhelmed, but I did get the Retrocade, and I'd watched a little bit of your review when you had first got it, and you seemed to really dig it, and I was like, all right, I said I'm gonna get this thing, and it's one so far I've actually really enjoyed having. Good selection. It's way more arcade games, which that's what the first one was missing. It only had one or two, a lot of games that didn't work. It was really like a big bust. But this new one so far, I haven't had any issues. And, Boogie Wing was about worth the price alone. As much fun as I had with that game.
Yeah, the Super Retrocade came out really good. The Generations, there were so many issues with it. And what they actually did was they learned their lesson. Did I sign an NDA? I don't know. There was a group. there was a test group for this one before it came out on the market, so that people, certain people got a unit to test out, to test the games, to make sure everything was up to snuff, because they didn't want a situation like that again with the Generation. So I think that helped a lot. They sort of learned their lesson, and they were like, well, let's have other people look at it before it hits the market. So
Yeah, very good idea. I do like the controller a little bit more on the generations. That was one of the pluses to me. I actually liked that one. The new one has an interesting look, but to me, it's quite as comfortable. But overall, man, it's been a fun system when you get that many games for what I always say is the price of just one game. Sometimes even I have just a little bit of fun with it. It's okay. And like the generations, I'm sure I have a friend or family member that I could give that. That might be a bad gift. But anyway, if I told them what they were expecting, it's something maybe, some kids or, my sister, somebody might like to just, mess around with a little bit. But yeah, they definitely stepped up, and everything so far has been looking good. All their, the compilation carts they have coming out, everything just looks really cool. It's just still nice to see a company that is still invested in like the retro scene, because as we can see, it is still huge due to all the clone consoles that are on the market. That's how you can tell it's still going strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like more and more get announced, every month. So it's a very interesting secondary market.
I think the more ways people can enjoy games of the past, the better. I know you made a video not too long ago. I want to say a couple months ago when it was almost like a mini rant about clone consoles. When people were like, "Oh, there's just too many clone consoles," I'm like, I'm in the same boat you are. I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of clone consoles, but that just means more people can play retro games. And how's that a bad thing?
Yeah, like it's such a weird position to take. Like, I don't like clone consoles. Okay, that's great, but there's people that do. So that's cool too. You don't got to be mad at them.
I mean, and some of it is just pure convenience factor, too. Because, let's face it, some of us don't want to hook up, 10 different look at the Retron 5. Like, look how many consoles that, has. Some people don't want to hook all that up to their television. Some people don't have, a CRT to play these retro games on. So some of these that have, like, the up converters that, do HD, that gives them a way to play a game without, trying to sacrifice room or go to Goodwill and buy, a 40-pound, 12-inch CRT television, So,
right.
it just gives them so much more options, and I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, speaking of options and things going wrong, there is some game news I wanted to get into, and the first one I want to go into just hits my childhood heart. Just makes me so sad. And, recently Toys R Us filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and a lot of people were like, this is the end of Toys R Us. And I was one of those people as well that was kind of like, maybe this isn't the end. Maybe this is them trying to hold their head above water. Well, unfortunately, it was just announced this week, about 3 days ago, that there's going to be 182 stores closing down. And I quickly had to go and check. Mine's not closing down, but I tell you guys, I went to Toys R Us last weekend because I go there every once in a while for like just shits and giggles to see what kind of toys they have or something, or see if maybe they got some more amiibos or something. But I went in there and it was so bare. Like they hardly had any video games at all. The Switch accessories were like bare, which was crazy because there's so many Switch accessories that are out now. And, if you were to tell me that store wasn't closing down, I wouldn't believe you because it's so barren. It's just a sign of the times. Like, what did you think about this, Shawn, when you first heard about Toys R Us closing up?
I wasn't surprised. Unfortunately, during the, 80s and 90s, that was the only way to get stuff was by going to a store. So these companies, of course, thinking short term, not long term, just started putting stores everywhere. And like there's such an oversaturation of like just like every sort of store in the world. Like you don't need, so many of these stores. At one point in time, something was going to happen. Of course, the internet came along and convenience and things like Amazon and online ordering and stuff. And these stores, much like malls, just became less and less needed. In some areas, I remember when I lived in Raleigh, there was like two malls like right near each other, and it's like, why are there two malls? Like, do we really need two malls? So it's just a product of the times. I don't think brick and mortar stores are ever going to go completely away, but they're going to have to downsize because there's just not a demand anymore. There's not a necessity for it.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Shawn said, with that need going down, more and more people shop online. I still think at the same time it's still very valuable to have. I'm pushing 40. I grew up with the stores. I still do like to go and physically look, and if I have the option of getting something in a store, many times I will, even if I got to pay, a dollar or two more. Best Buy was an example of one that just, it dropped more and more. Less movies with their CDs. I mean, shit, I still buy CDs. I still go look, and everything, such small sections. You can still find a neat DVD now and then. Sometimes these stores are going to have to, I don't know if in some areas it could help to kind of cater to like niche markets. Toys R Us is one of the stores still that you can find like some cool horror toys, which I always like to go check there. And of course, wrestling figures, still big into those. I love going to it, but it would be nice to see even more of these. And maybe some of these stores will shrink. Maybe it's a time for more, mom and pop specialty stores to kind of, show up, know that market in their area, cater to them, get odd things you maybe wouldn't get at a Toys R Us. At the end, it's still sad. I really hate for, most of all, for anybody to lose their job, especially this day and age. That just totally sucks. Maybe they'll be able to pick up over at another store, and still keep their job. I'm sure the one in my area will stay. It's just a shame to see so many good memories, but at the same time, too, it's just not surprising due to that rise of online shopping. You don't have to go. And I'm one of the first people to say I hate going out and dealing with the public. I just don't want to go stand in a line anywhere. I don't want to wait behind people buying lottery tickets to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Oh, amen.
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way as you guys. I like the convenience of going to somewhere and buying something and not having to wait, for it to come in the mail, even more so when it's like a week late. I hate it. But at the same time, Toys R Us is so expensive, man. Like, I go in there and I have like 2 nephews, so I'll go in there and look for something to buy them every once in a while, and it's just like it's $5 or $6 more at Toys R Us than it is at Walmart. And I mean, it's a sign of the times, and it sucks, but at the same time, it is what it is. I mean, we got online now, so yeah.
Yeah, it's stepping up along with the Amazon. Walmart pretty soon is, because the post office has like a big contract with Amazon. And, we always wonder more and more about Amazon opening up their own delivery facilities, which I think will happen for more of that one-day delivery of things you can buy. I think they're still going to stay with the post office for a while. But Walmart pretty soon is going to be pushing kind of like their own Prime service with free shipping. They're trying to step up as Amazon. It's so huge. Walmart's taking a hit. A lot of Sam's Clubs have actually been closing that people didn't even know. They went into work and there was a sign on the door, which I think is just like terrible to do to anybody. But Walmart too is jumping into that online game. They're going to be stepping up even more. So it's which that's always a great thing when you don't have to go in Walmart. I will say that because we have some Walmarts around here in Fayetteville you just don't go to, like the Skybow Road one. That's more like the the murder Walmart. You don't want to go there. Better off skipping that one.
Oh yeah, and man, I'm on point with the segues tonight. I was about to say, speaking of murder, a very popular Netflix series that came out last summer. It got confirmed for season 2, and I'm talking about Castlevania. Man, I think all you guys can agree that the Castlevania show on Netflix was just so freaking awesome, but it was so short. It was only like 4 episodes. There were 30 minutes long. So you could watch the whole show in like 2 hours. It was like watching a movie. Well, it did get confirmed that it's coming out this summer, and it's going to be coming out and having 8 episodes. And it's going to be taking place right after what happened at the end of the first season, which was them awakening Alucard and going after Dracula. And what do you think about this, Shawn? I know you're a big Castlevania fan.
I really liked it. I'm not really huge into anime and stuff like that, so I didn't quite know what to expect. But I thought they did a good job with the source material, sort of basing it on Castlevania 3. And it's very interesting. They keep it intriguing. They get some good character background and development. It was definitely way too short, so I'm glad that there's a lot more coming this summer.
What about you? James?
Well, upon the rumors for many years, we'd always heard about them possibly making a Castlevania movie, much to many of our dread, because we knew that would be fucking awful. I always knew the way to go. I've said many times, anime is the way to go if you want a good Castlevania, whether it was a series or I was always thinking a feature-length movie. And I think this was proof positive that was the right way to go. I always just knew they were going to have a second season. My wife, who is, not into games at all, she will play Mario Kart once in a while. She does like the Tron movies. She's more into like video game movies, even documentaries, King of Kong. She liked that, but she actually really enjoyed the Castlevania series. And, I'm not into anime either. It's got to be ninjas. And not like the, Naruto ninjas. Got to be like kill you ninja scroll ninjas. Like samurais. I hate robots and mechs. I don't want to ever see any of that. I know many people will just throw crap at me for saying that. But no, I just my own personal opinion. But Castlevania, man, just is awesome. I can't wait. I'm going to go back and rewatch it again because I was kind of dozing off a little bit when I saw it. But I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing, binge that, maybe right before the new series. Hopefully we'll keep getting that. This could only bring on more. I think we could see, more. Shoot, even they've had a lot of the kind of like CGI ones, but Resident Evil, I think that'd be really cool to see even more of a anime, or if they want to do the CGI route of some kind of series of Resident Evil, maybe on Netflix or Hulu. There's so many streaming services now that get these exclusive shows. You really got to have them all. And granted, it's still cheaper than a cable bill, but damn, it keeps pushing up a little bit further. And pretty soon we're going to be paying the same as cable just for all these streaming things. But I do think at the end they're worth it. I really enjoy them all. Castlevania is just awesome. And who knows what else we'll see next? A sweet Mega Man one. That would be pretty dope. It's just open to so many things. I kind of look forward, with all the popular rise of video game culture and everything. There's no telling what we'll see coming out next.
Indeed. And we got two more stories to talk about on gaming news before we take our break. This one here is some Xbox news. I know we don't cover Xbox a whole lot on the show, and a lot of that's because I don't have an Xbox. James doesn't have an Xbox. But I thought this was pretty big news. Xbox Game Pass is now going to be featuring first-party Xbox One exclusives at launch. Like today was the release of Sea of Thieves. Also, State of Decay 2 is coming out, Crackdown 3. And all this is going to be on Game Pass. And what Game Pass is, you pay $10 a month, and you get a streaming service on Microsoft that you can play any Xbox, OG, 360, Xbox One just for $9.99 a month. And this sounds really interesting. This is really, really interesting. And what do you think about this, Shawn?
It's interesting, but I could see it being, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit off-putting, maybe. Not to gamers. I think if you're an Xbox, I own an Xbox One. I don't really use it that much because the first-party titles that I was interested in, Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break, I've already played them. And there's not that many Xbox One exclusive titles as far as console exclusives. Like you've pretty much said all of them with those 3 that are scheduled for 2018. Like that's it. And I think it's a good value for gamers who don't really care. They just want to play the games and see what they want to do. I don't foresee third-party companies liking this concept. I don't see them supporting it or putting their most recent releases on there, obviously, because it's all software driven for them. It's very interesting. There's been some sort of backlash. I know one game store refused to carry Xbox One stuff now because of it. It was a small chain, I think it was, but I don't know. I think in the long run it'll be interesting to see. Because pretty much they're obviously going to be cannibalizing their own sales. So I guess you're sort of banking on more people signing up for the service to play these games than going out there and buying them. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, and I want to see how it plays out in the future. Because I mean, like, in some ways, I think it would be really good for like, someone who just does digital. Like, they don't care to have the game; they just want a digital copy of it. It'd be kind of cool, you just buy like an original Xbox, because I think original Xboxes now go for less than $200. So you get like a used, OG Xbox One, get, Xbox Live, and then get this $10 a month, and boom, you can play any game you want. But I mean, that's a good observation though on the third party, because that I wasn't even, when I first heard about Story, I wasn't even thinking about third party with that. Because I'm looking at the news right now, and it says that 2 third-party titles or companies are already planning on leaving. So they didn't say what companies they were, but that could be really, really bad. I mean, let's look at it this way. According to a lot of gamers, console doesn't survive without third party. We heard this for how many years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we've seen ones leave. I could see, man, if Xbox just kind of sticks, with their own. It'd be nice to have like a streaming service of some of their old catalogs, since they're, letting people play them more on there, and maybe just kind of go that route. As much as we see like drops, I've said the same thing before. When you get your Netflix, your Hulu's, you see drop in DVD sales, but for certain markets, like the horror market, there's still lots of stores that like cater to them with really cool special editions. Like I said before, I think sometimes we'll see physical games go to that point where you get more like cool stuff, with them, and you might, of course, have to pay for it. But Xbox seems to try to be doing the fan-friendly thing, and doing more to try to catch up, in the big race of the consoles. But yeah, with the other parties, I don't know if the third parties want to give up. Maybe some of them would think of a loss of revenue. So, maybe it could stick with just Microsoft titles. It's another one of those things. Be interesting to see. We said all our friends that have Xboxes do seem to enjoy them. I just don't see the need, to have one. I wouldn't mind playing Sunset Overdrive and a couple other ones, but it's just not necessary for me to go out in between the PS4 and the Switch and just find enough time with all the games on those. But I always still wish Microsoft the best, man, and I like to see anybody that has one get the most out of the system they can. That's just always it. It sounds like a good thing for gamers now, but what comes up later, it's like, just have to wait and see.
Indeed. And the last story we're going to talk about is, of course, this is old news now. This came out like last week, but we hadn't had a chance to talk about it on the podcast, and we got Shawn here. So let's talk about the Nintendo Labo, okay? Does this really need an introduction? I feel like everyone already knows about it. So for anyone who's been like living under a rock for the past week or so, what is the Labo? The Labo is a peripheral that's coming out to the Switch, and for like $80 you get a piece of software, you get some cardboard, you can build all this cardboard to interact with the software with the Switch, like make robots, have a backpack with a robot, lots of robots, and lots of stuff like that, fishing rods, pianos. It looks really cool. I mean, what are your thoughts about this, Shawn? I know you made a video about it, but for those who hadn't seen your channel.
I think it's pretty interesting. I don't think it's necessarily catered towards adults. They pretty much said before they did anything that they weren't catering it towards adults. It was for kids or kids at heart. And then a lot of adults were like, "Oh, well, that means it's Smash Brothers." It's like, no, I don't think so. And a lot of people were disappointed with it. Like, oh, it's just cardboard or something. But there's actually like some sort of tech behind it. There was a article that was written shortly after the reveal of it that showed some of the tech behind it, and it's actually pretty intricate. Will it be, a game changer? Is this going to be the future of gaming? No, I don't think so. But then again, I don't think, VR is the future of gaming either. I think gaming is just a natural progression. But I think it'll be an interesting deviation. I think, it seems like a lot of kids are very excited for this. Evidently, there's like a whole this sort of thing exists outside of Labo as far as like cardboard creations and stuff like that. I don't have kids or no kids or really like kids, so I don't know. But I will be getting the robot one for myself because that just looks fun.
What about you, James?
As much as I said, like, I don't, like mechs as far as anime stuff, this would be fun to play as a mech, I think, or a robot. I'm really excited about the piano one. Many people say, oh, it's just $70 cardboard and blah, blah, just don't buy it if you don't want it. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be the future of gaming. I think it could be really fun. I'm a big fan of Legos. I was a big fan of those, like wooden, dinosaur skeletons when I was little. Dinosaurs were like huge when I was in 4th grade, and putting those together, I think there's lots of more that kind of makes you think of like balsa wood plane models, hopefully a little bit more sturdier than balsa wood. But the fact that you can mix in like a game with it, like the fishing rod, man, it just looked really neat. That was a lot of reaction. My friends was like, like Xander's like, oh, my nephew think it looks awesome, or friends like, oh man, my kid thinks that looks cool, and I'm like, nah, I think that looks cool. I'm definitely going to pre-order at least a set. I think one of the sets has about 5 for some of the smaller ones, and I imagine, of course, like the robot would be an individual set. Maybe the piano might be individual, but sounds like in the multi-set there's about 5 different ones in it. And I'm just looking forward to it. I thought the release date was hilarious and totally awesome at the same time. It comes out on 4/20. I'm like, that is super cool. And maybe they're trying to cater to those kind of people. I don't know. That's cool with me. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to get down and reserve one. I hope they're easy to get. I hope we don't have like an Amiibo situation or NES Classic situation with people scalping the stuff that is definitely directed, more so, like we said, at kids. I would just really hate to see a scalper market on this. And hopefully, like I said, with the printout schematics and stuff you could do at home, maybe things like that will cut out some things. I just hope, if people are just able to reserve one and get it if they want it. And I think it looks really neat. That's the word I use for it. It just looks neat. And it just looks something fun I'm looking forward to getting and trying out on a 420. That should be a fun day.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I feel like a lot of people that were hating on it didn't get it to begin with, because it wasn't for them. I mean, I even had some people that were like worried that the Labo would cause a drought for the Switch. They're like, yeah, because they had all the Amiibos come out. When the Amiibos came out, the Wii U wasn't coming out with any games. I'm like, no, that's not what happened. But the thing about it is, a lot of parents, because I know a lot of people have talked about the cardboard being like, oh, it's cardboard, kids are going to break it. Parents kind of know their kids. I mean, if they know their kid is that kid that goes outside with a magnifying glass and burns ants, then chances are they're probably not going to spend $80 to spend on this kid with a cardboard, and software. They're not going to do it. But if you have a kid who maybe has an interest in engineering, maybe he's a very imaginative kid, this would be awesome. I also thought this would be really cool for like schools, which is not the first time Nintendo's done stuff like this. I mean, we had Wii's in nursing homes. We had Wii's in rehab clinics. So why wouldn't Nintendo be like, all right, well, let's do something for kids and have them do something more than try to eat, Tide.
God damn.
I mean, instead of eating Tide Pods, become a robot with some cardboard. I mean, why not? I mean, kids need imagination, and I always say I love it when I'm like driving down and I see a kid beating a tree with a stick, thinking it's a sword. That's awesome. So Nintendo's bringing back that imaginary life that kids are supposed to have. And let's not forget, Nintendo's been around for over 100 years, and the reason why is because they've always tried to innovate and make something new, and not just with video games, even Love Hotels. So, I mean...
Yeah. With kids nowadays, so many of them always have that pad of some type, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, something in their hand. Maybe more of them now can have this, build a little something, control something, do a little bit more than just keeping your face staring at a damn screen. Because, I mean, we see kids now, like, 2-3 years old, already looking at an iPad, and like that's just like that's crazy to me. But once again, like I don't have kids either, so who knows? I might get like here, like shut up, take this pad. I don't know how it works. I'm not a parent, but kids are just involved in tech from such an early age. But to see them go into it and have a little bit more interaction with it, it's got a little bit of Lego-ness to it. Toy models, which I was always horrible at, and I just wanted to break them. And maybe this is something I can do. Maybe I will break the Labo. I don't know. That one inside the pack looked very complicated, and I was like, oh God, I might have to get my wife to put this together for me. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I like the piano one. Being someone who plays piano, I'd be like, you know what, it'd be kind of cool just to get the piano Labo and like make a whole album of like piano songs, and that could be like the thing. Be like, how Trent Reznor recorded that album using GarageBand. Back when the iPad and everything was getting really big, he made that whole album using GarageBand. Like, oh man, Xander made this whole album playing the piano from the Nintendo Labo. That would just be kind of cool, actually.
That would be pretty dope, man. Yeah, the piano one's definitely one on the list. I showed it to my wife. I was like, hey, check this out, and she's like, man, neat. I was like, see, that's what I said. That's my word for it. It's just going to be a super neat. New Nintendo item that we can all play with on 420. I wonder if you can like make a bong out of one of them. That would be who knows.
Well, anyway, guys, with that being said, we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about peripherals. After the Labo talk, we got some opinions and comments from the Xsgaming podcast group page talking about some of their favorite peripherals. We're going to talk about some of ours. So sit back, relax, guys, listen to some Mega Man, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, and we are back from our break, and let's talk peripherals. After all the talk with Labo, I decided to ask the group page on Facebook, and if you guys want to join the Xsgaming Podcast group page, you guys can by going to facebook.com/group/Xsgaming Podcast. It's all one word. And I asked the group, like, what are some of your favorite peripherals? Now, got a couple of replies. First one was from Jared. He said, Still Battalion. I can't even say it. Still Battalion. Need I say more? Also, Ryan said the same, Still Battalion. He also said he really liked the drums in Donkey Konga. Josh, Game Grinder. He said the SNES Super Scope was possibly the coolest peripheral ever made, or at least for a 10-year-old like me thought that. Using a bazooka for a light gun, how could you go wrong with that? Dom, he says Guitar Hero and Rock Band dominated my gaming life for a good number of years. And Tyler also said Guitar Hero. So we didn't have a whole lot of responses, but we had a lot of Guitar Hero and Still Battalion and like the scope. Now, I want to ask you, Shawn, what is probably one of your favorite gaming peripherals?
I like sort of weird things like the 3D controller for the Sega Saturn that released with the analog stick for Knights. I thought that was a really cool controller. It was like so big and it came in this big box with Knights. That was pretty cool. I like the Donkey Konga bongos as well. I have a couple sets of those. Something simple like the NES Zapper, and the trackpad back in the day, like that was crazy shit. Like, you'd go over to a friend's house because my parents were poor as shit, and I'd get to play it and stuff. And it's like, wow, this is so cool. Even like the Wii Fit board. I would use it. I remember a version of Skate came out on the Wii called Skate It. And I really liked using the Wii balance board with it because it kind of simulated skating to some degree, at least. And they did the Tony Hawk board too. The Wu-Tang controller on the PlayStation 1.
Oh man,
that was
that
so
thing looks
cool.
so awesome.
It's so awesome. It's so expensive nowadays though. But yeah, I like that too. Like things like Steel Battalion are awesome, but it's just so massive and over the top and stuff like that. But even the Wiimote. I mean, the Wiimote was essentially a peripheral, and it was very game changing for at least the time. So I like those things.
What about you, James?
Man, I could say I'm a little bit of a controller nerd. I love them. Used to when we had a few more. Eddie McKay was one of my favorite stores in town that's now closed. But I used to always like to go there and check out the controllers, the cash converters, which all those in town have also closed now. You'd get the big just bundles. Man, I got one of those 3D touch pads for the Genesis. And it worked surprisingly well. Now, I don't know if I had actually gotten this controller when it had come out. It probably would have pissed me off. But now in retrospect, I'm like, Shinobi's moving around, it's doing pretty good. Going back to, one of the first ones, the Zapper, like Shawn said, I didn't know anybody with a Power Glove or a Rob the Robot. I've still never actually physically messed with a Rob the Robot. I don't even know if I've actually seen one. I do have a Power Glove now, which is just, it's just kind of fun because it sucks, but I mean, it's the Power Glove, So
it's so bad.
It's kind of so bad. Like
someone had to throw that joke in there.
In so many ways, it's just so bad. But the Zapper is one that still to this day is one of my favorites. I've managed to go back and find a lot of games. Like Freedom Force is such a awesome Zapper game that actually has blood in it, and I totally missed out on that one. And having a CRT TV, I can still play those. So I try to get every Zapper game I can. Whether it's not Bob Barker, it's somebody, not Clive Barker. It's somebody's trick shooting game. Those are just always fun to get. And with the Super Scope, like Game Grinder mentioned, that's one that I realized later on, going through some games for my brother when I was selling him some Super NES games, of how many games are actually compatible with that. You think you have your Super Scope, of course, that 6-pack. You had a couple of the other games, but there was a lot of other ones. I think like 10 Star. There was really about 15 or 16 games that you could use the Super Scope on. I mean, I never knew that. I've never actually used the Super Scope, but we did find out lots of compatibility with it. Much like the mouse, we just had Mario Paint over here, but there was I want to say maybe up to like 5 games as far as into Japan that you could use the mouse with. It was just another interesting peripheral to have. The light phaser, of course, with the Master System was just another one. And I think the Master System almost has a better selection of games. If you're into light zapper games on the NES and you never really mess with the Master System, like Gangster Town is an awesome one. There's just really so many on that system. It was surprising to me. So that one overall is a little bit more of my favorite one. And you can even extend those onto the PlayStation 1 as far as, what was that Namco? Point Blank? The Point Blank games were amazing. There was a really cool Western-themed game on the PS1, Time Crisis, awesome arcade games, awesome home games. I mean, that even lasted up until the PS3, which was still a hugely complicated thing with all these wires and crap, and I have it, and it's just such a tangled mess that I don't even really want to use it. And I really got to give a shout out to what I think is one of the most unique ones would be on the Dreamcast with the keyboard and the typing of the dead.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Word Jong games, like Word Quest on the Switch. I've been playing. It's kind of like an RPG where you spell words. Bookworm. If you like games like that, I mean, come on. You're killing zombies with words. Like, at the end, it's not much cooler than that. I don't really know what else. I don't think there was any other games that the keyboard would be used for other among maybe, browsing on the internet with the Dreamcast. It was mainly exclusive to typing of the dead, but just, that's going to be one of the most insane ones ever. And also one of the ones that I did buy at our local cash converters when they were still around was the Stunt Master. I believe it's this horrible face contraption that you fit over your eyes that, sticks a blurry game right in your face. You can use it with the Super NES or the Genesis, and it is just it's awful. I don't know. That's one of the downsides of peripherals. You got a lot of bad gimmicky ones, but then you got the really good stuff, the zappers, like Shawn said, the Wii. That was kind of like a rebirth as far as the zapper games. That's another system I try to get every game I can. House of the Dead, the Resident Evil, Umbrella Chronicle games, LA Machine Guns, that double one with like New York Blade something. Man, so many awesome games. House of the Dead, Overkill.
Oh yeah.
How great was that one?
That was a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had so many since the beginning up until now. Still getting peripherals this day to that just cool controller to something really innovative. It's just awesome stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite peripherals, I had to agree with Shawn about the 3D controller for the Saturn. That was like the precursor to the Dreamcast controller. It was really cool. And there's one peripheral that you can get for the Dreamcast. It's like an adapter that you can hook up so you can actually play Dreamcast games with your Sega Saturn controller, which is really awesome because I admit the Dreamcast is like my favorite console of all time. Like, I love the Dreamcast, but I have to kind of play it in spurts because I like to play a lot of fighters, and that D-pad is so sharp around the edges that it just like starts to kind of cramp my thumb a little bit. So having that adapter and playing like using a Sega Saturn controller on playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or freaking Project Justice, why not? I really like that one. I also really like, and this is going to sound funny, but say what you will, the fishing rod on the Dreamcast, playing some of those fishing games was actually pretty awesome. I actually really like those. And also, they had for the PlayStation, they had a one-hand controller. Forget the name of it, but it looked like a remote. But it was great for RPGs because RPGs you don't use a whole lot of movement anyway. You're just moving the character around and selecting menus, and like it's the perfect lazy man's controller to play an RPG because you got one hand free. You could be like eating pizza or like drinking a beer while you're just sitting there playing like Final Fantasy or something. I really like that a whole lot, and one peripheral I think that really revolutionized, no pun intended, but the Dance Dance Revolution, that peripheral, that dancing pad, man, to me, at least in my town, it kept the arcades thriving for another couple of years because the arcades were really starting to die out, but what was like the bread and butter was DDR, and I admit I am not good at DDR. I like to watch people play DDR, but I was just happy it was there and people enjoyed it because it gave me a chance to play like Mortal Kombat 4 and Tekken 3. So I mean, like that was probably one of my favorite peripherals when it came to that.
That's almost kind of like the evolution of the power pad.
Yeah.
When you think, in a sense, I've never played that myself. I probably I'm too cool to do that, either just because I would be terrible at it. And one other mention too, as far as a couple people said Guitar Hero. I mean, wow, like what a phenomenon that was for a long time. That spawned into further things like Rock Band. I mean, I bought Guitar Hero just on a whim at the fact that this looks kind of silly. I got it and it was fun, and then at that same time it just like overtook, and I got sick of it, really fast. But at the same time, I can't deny the impact that had. We saw it on the 3DS, like I said, with the Rock Band, with the whole drum set, and the whole get up with the mic and everything. Just an amazing form of home music and karaoke, and who knows how many people that actually spawned into playing actual instruments. As far as first starting off with the Guitar Hero Rock Band, then you pick up a guitar from there and then go on, and who knows what kind of musicians could have stemmed out of that. Probably some fucking horrible ones, but I'm sure we're gonna get some really good unique ones too as well.
Yeah, I mean, that you said music and peripherals, and made me think of course, like the Miracle Piano on the original Nintendo, which I've never seen one in person. I've watched a couple of videos where people have gotten it, and I've seen it in action. I remember I watched Gamester81. He did a video on it like years ago, and he was showing it off, and I'm like, man, that'd be so cool because, like I said, I play piano, and I would have loved to have that as a kid because, I mean, video game music is what inspired me to play music when I was a kid because I had like a little cheap keyboard, and I would sit there and play it, and I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of like video game music, and that's what got me into it. So, I mean, having something like Miracle Piano would just like blew my mind. Also, I mean, it's stuff like Mario Paint. That's another crazy concept peripheral with the mouse that, maybe got people more into art. And, of course, when you mention the SNES mouse, like, I think of Clock Tower now. That's just the first thing I think of. It's Clock Tower. But what are some, like, peripherals that you guys may have been really stoked about that you bought, like maybe you bought it day one and you're like, man, I've always wanted to try this, that you did not like? I'm going to throw that to Shawn. Shawn, what's a peripheral that you absolutely hated?
The R-Zone.
Oh, yeah.
I remember getting an R-Zone, and it was
this
just
a gift from someone, or did you buy this?
I wanted it, and I asked someone to buy it for me. But then again, it's hard for me to say what peripherals and stuff that I absolutely hated, because as a kid I would find enjoyment out of like anything. Like you could hand me a rock and like I would make like something more out of it, and whatnot. And so I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say a peripheral that I didn't really like, because I'm the type of person who likes the Virtual Boy. I think it's a fantastic system. So I can't really think of any. Maybe the it's okay. There was a lot of shitty Wii accessories, like the whole for Wii Sports, where they would bundle like a plastic tennis racket that added nothing, plastic golf club. Like that shit was terrible. So I'll say that.
Yeah, that was pretty
That was,
bad.
I kind of think of one because I was actually watching one of your videos about some of the Retrobit and Sega team up as far as some of the controllers, and I think you had mentioned an Acclaim Genesis set. Now I know for a fact I had the Acclaim Nintendo wireless controllers back in the 80s, and wow, what a load of garbage. They were the worst because we had of course, like, the kind of infrared things back then.
Yeah.
And while something like the NES Satellite was actually not that bad, it was fun because you could cheat and stick your hand over it and maybe get a friend disqualified for standing on the turnbuckle too long in World Championship Wrestling. I have been known to do that, but the Acclaim infrared wireless controllers I actually asked for those for Christmas instead of, any game. I got those. They were the worst. We actually managed to take them back to the store as saying that they did not work, and I can't think of what game I got instead. But those controllers were like $40, so I either got two $20 games, or I might have managed to get like a $50 NES game out of that. But those were terrible. Any kind of wireless controller back in the 80s was just known to be awful. You can say what you want about the NES like Advantage, as I always called the Disadvantage, because I didn't like using a joystick at home, but it was so massive. Same with the Super NES Advantage. I have one of those. I like it because it has colored buttons, which I'm always a fan of. And the Max, I actually have like 2 or 3 NES Max controllers, and I've grown to appreciate those over time. As you learn what the kind of like little outer rim is not really a full-on controller. It's kind of more used as a guide, but those are still fun. But man, those Acclaim controllers are just complete butt. I can only imagine what they would play like now. And a shout out to that touchpad on the Genesis, because that one just worked way better than it had any right to. And it has a nice big bright yellow control pad. Once again, shout out to Colors on controllers because they're awesome.
I think mine would be the magnifying thing on the Game Boy.
That thing sucked.
I hated it because, like, you would get it and you'd be like, man, this is going to make the game look bigger, and you put it on there and it would just, like, make everything look really fuzzy and, like, stretched out like I was, like, nearsighted or something. I did not like it at all. I remember getting one of those and getting those little things that you put on the side of your Game Boy that made the buttons kind of stick out more. You know what I'm talking about? I got one of those.
Like one of
too.
those big contraptions that just added, just more girth to the Game Boy.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like I really didn't like that. That was probably one of the worst peripherals that I ever got. I never got into the wireless controllers until like later on, and I didn't get a whole lot of peripherals when I was younger. I mean, if I was lucky if I got like a game. So I mean,
yeah, you were much better off going for the game instead of like a bunk ass controller like I did. Trust me.
Which I was going to say was it's funny you brought up the R Zone, Shawn, because I remember like when you said the R Zone, I just got a flashback when I was a kid. I remember I got a package of like High C, like a pack of High C, and they had like a R Zone sweepstakes. And I remember I won Twisted Metal on the R Zone. I won that, and I forgot to send it in, and I never got it. And I remember for the longest time I was like kind of pissed off about it. I was like, dude, I never got Twisted Metal in the R Zone, and so like I played it later on at the Boys and Girls Club. For like summer, like when my friends had it at R Zone, and I'm like, what is this? I was like, I'm so glad I didn't get this now. Because it was really weird, man. It was really interesting technology at the time, like having it over your eye and like looking into it. But it was like you had to kind of close your other eye because your peripheral vision would try to like kick in, and you like see stuff out of the corner of your eye, and you're trying to look at this like, very faded red sprite moving around this little screen. It was really weird.
Yeah, it just didn't work well.
But they did come out with a lot of games with the R's. I mean, they came out with Twisted Metal. I remember they came out with, I believe they came out with Duke Nukem on the R Zone, if I'm not mistaken.
There was like Virtual Fighter on there. There was all sorts of crap on there.
I always get the R Zone Gamecom mixed up, to be honest. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always get those mixed up, like library-wise.
I'm still waiting because I got a friend of mine I hooked up with a Game Boy SP. He was, just looking to get a Game Boy, and I had an extra one, and so I helped him out. And he's been loving it, but he told me if he ever finds his Gamecom, he's gonna send it to me. And I'm still just because I'm a fan, much like I'm a controller nerd. I love handhelds. Of course, the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Oh yeah,
that I got from Xander, very awesome. I just I love having those. And I just need I have the magnifier glass for my Game Gear, which I don't use. Game Gear's another fun. But I do want to give another shout out to an awesome peripheral that we didn't mention, but the Super Game Boy.
Oh,
if you want to throw that in that category. I mean, that one's got to be one of the best, and I never had one as a kid. I got one, way later on, but just Super NES wasn't good enough already. You want to throw in that awesome catalog of like Game Boy, no matter what, even the most simple game that, might suck on the NES, somehow managed to be a whole lot better on the Game Boy, and then you could throw some of those semi-sucky games and magnify them on the Super NES with a nice added-in color palette, and just what a cool add-on. You just can't beat that.
And of course, we got the Game Boy Advance player on the GameCube, which is still like one of the best ways to play the Game Boy Advance. I mean, Game Boy Advance already has like a great library of games, but playing it on the big screen, it feels like you're almost playing like long lost Super Nintendo games. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, what we're going to get into, guys, is we're going to wrap this up with games we've been playing recently. And we're going to ask you, James, what have you been playing as of late?
Start out a little bit earlier in the week. I finally played some Resident Evil Revelations 2. I had this game before on the PS4, never played it. I did find a new home with our friend Ryan Cadaver from the Casket Creatures, who's been on the show many times. I'm going to send that to him because I was surprised he actually didn't have it, had never played it. And I'm also hooking up with a copy of Lego City Undercover on PS4 because my brother EJ sent me a copy on the Switch. And because I just didn't want to buy it for a third time because I had it on Wii U, had it on PS4, and I didn't want to buy it again, but he sent me one. And it's one of my favorite games in the Lego series. But Resident Evil Revelations 2, I've really been digging it so far. The past Resident Evil games I've played, really being Resident Evil Revelations 1, Resident Evil 0, which I played for the first time last year, and 7. As much as I'm not a fan of really even 4, 5, or 6, I've never played 5 or 6, and just didn't really like 4. I love all these other ones. So, I mean, Resident Evil is a really good series. It's stood the test of time, and it still offers a lot of options. No matter what, kind of style of Resident Evil you like, there's probably something you can find that's really awesome. And, of course, I'm always seriously buying stuff on the Switch eShop. Every Thursday, I'm usually off on Thursday. And, I go on there after 12 o'clock noon and see what's on there. And some other stuff pop up during the day. Just always cool stuff. I bought Stick Bold a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was on sale. It looked interesting. I finally played it. And, man, if you like Dodgeball, I'd kind of throw it a little bit to like it's not the same as Super Dodgeball on the NES by Technos. But if you're a fan of that and you also kind of like the graphic style of Katamari Damacy, it's a really cool mixture of just all that. I mean, I got to hit somebody in the head with a beehive. You have kind of like little almost like little quest things that you can do within your game. You got to win, it's like best of 5. So you win 3 and you can, sometimes it's 2 on 3. It's just, wacky, quirky. It looks very foreign. There's somebody named Bjorn. I don't really know where this game's from, but it just has a really cool look to it. And I've had a blast playing that. And then I finally got Batman, the Telltale version on Switch. I talked about that on the Xsgaming page. It was very hard to find a copy, even at GameStop. No one had one. I tried to do a pickup at the store, one that was on my route, and the guy called me back. He's like, "Hey, we actually don't have this." There was like one used copy in all of Fayetteville out of like 28 GameStops that we have. was one used copy, and I got it, and I spoke of my awesome experience because I called in, the guy held it, I checked out, he didn't ask me if I wanted to reserve, preserve, or do anything. He's just, here, pay for this. All right, man, have a good day. Talked to him for a bit. It was a great GameStop experience. I went and filled out the survey and told them that he asked me about all that crap that none of us want them to ask us, but we know it's their job, and they must do it. So I'm looking forward to getting to the Batman Telltale. I always love the Telltale games, especially Wolf Among Us, which has a sequel coming out this summer. I'm really looking forward to. So I hope the Batman game is fun, looks good so far, and that's about the most of what I've been doing.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. What about you, Shawn?
I've been playing Earth Wars a lot, which is a really good Switch game. That's only $4.50 right now for some strange reason, because it released on other platforms for like $40. And honestly, it's probably worth, a good $30 or $40. It reminds me a lot of Muramasa the Demon Blade, which was a Vanillaware game. Super awesome game. I just picked it up on a whim the other day. I've also been playing Shu on the Nintendo Switch, which is a sort of puzzle platformer, pretty tricky game, but it has a good art style. I like the music on it too. It's pretty mellow, but it gets pretty difficult, so it's kind of an interesting contrast. I also have actually been playing Resident Evil Revelations 2 as well. I'm currently in single player. I'm currently stuck because I'm out of ammo, and I'm just pretty much screwed. So I just play mostly online with like wood and stuff like that. We do the raid mode co-op, which is really fun. It's actually a really well done game, considering it's like $40 for the two or $20 a piece. Like, it's probably one of the better online experiences on the Switch. I've been playing Mutant League Football on the PS4 that I'll be reviewing on the channel. Surprisingly fun. It's definitely a little more football-y than the original Mutant League Football, but I think that's just sort of a necessity. It still has a lot of the over-the-top elements, deaths and kills, and the commentary. I mean, it's pretty lowbrow. Like very like edgy 2000s sort of commentary, like sort of like that. You'll see in the review, but yeah, that's about it. Just been dabbling my feet in a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, myself, I've been playing a lot of this fan-made game that they used, the Super Mario World patch, and it's called Mario is Missing Done Right. And what it is, I did a live stream of it about 2 weeks ago. I did a live stream of it. And what it is like, it's what we all thought Mario was Missing was going to be, a game with Luigi saving Mario. I mean, it's a straight-up 2D platformer. It has a lot of fan service, a lot of Easter eggs. I remember I went to one stage where you're playing in a forest, and it's playing the Lost Woods from the Zelda theme, or Zelda game. And during like a desert stage, they had like this really jazzy rendition of Castlevania Bloody Tears, which surprisingly fit really well with this Mario level. I'm like, this is weird, but I mean, they take elements from like Super Mario Land on the original Game Boy, like the big Easter Island heads that would jump after you, like those are on there, and the lions that shoot out fire. They took a lot of elements from that. I mean, it's got a lot of music from Super Mario RPG. It's just a well-made, fan-made game. I've been playing that a lot on my my Raspberry Pi, because I actually finally got my Raspberry Pi 3 upgrade from John. A big shout out to John with RetroBroGaming.com. He hooked me up with that, did a couple of intros for him on his channel. He was like, you want me to pay you, or you want me to send you a Raspberry Pi? And I'm like, I'll take a Pi. So I took that, and I got this really cool case for it. It looks like an NES Mini. What's really cool is when you flip up the NES flat that you would put a cartridge in, when you flip it up, it's got two more USBs and the Ethernet cable. So that's really cool. But I've been playing mostly on that. Also got been playing a lot of Blossom Tale on the Switch. This game is like such a love letter to Link to the Past. It's a really good game, and I've been playing some of that, and that's pretty much it. I do have a review coming up of a game called Energy Invasion. It's very low budget on the Switch, and that's just saying it very lightly. I'm going to wait. It's going to be one of my first, like, kind of negative reviews I do on my channel. But, you know, those are kind of good to do, too, sometimes, especially when people send you games and they can't be like, oh, he's just being biased because he got it for free. I'm like, no, I got to talk about this. So
yeah, some of those are hit or miss. I think one of those best, like, really cheap games we got was that Night Terror.
Oh yeah,
that was like
awesome.
One of the ones that was $3 was so awesome, and I think that was a Nicholas game too. Man, Nicholas games are just awesome.
Yeah, it was really really good. But yeah, before we close the show, Shawn, how about you let our listeners know where can we find you on the YouTubes?
You can find me under RGT85. That's my home. That is where I make my money and make my videos. So, yep, you can find me on there. I upload pretty frequently. I'll probably be uploading more frequently coming up within by March, because I'll be going actually full time into the world of video games, because I don't know. I just felt like doing it. So I said, screw it. Let's do it. So, yep, you can find me there. Social media, Facebook page is RGT85, Twitter at Shawn Long 85. I'm a pretty easy person to find.
Indeed. And all the links are going to be on the description below of this episode. So if you guys are listening, you're like, hey, I want to check this dude out. Definitely check him out, first of all. And secondly, you have a way to do it. And I do want to also add, if you subscribe to Shawn Long's channel, please hit that bell. That bell is going to be notifying you whenever there's a new upload, and he does upload frequently. As a matter of fact, my phone always goes off. I was like, bloop, bloop. I'm like, oh, man, RGT85 has a new video up. So, I mean, definitely do that. It really helps with the content creators, especially ones like Shawn said. He's going into it full time, and it really, really helps his channel out. So I can't say that enough. Ring that bell. Trust me, a lot of us hate saying that, but you have to do it. And speaking of YouTube, if you guys are listening to this on Podomatic or on iTunes, first off, please give us a review. It really helps the show. It helps spread the word and find new listeners, and more community joins in. But if you're listening to us on that platform, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Xander Skullion. I have a new upload come up every Sunday and every Wednesday. I've also started a new segment called Raw Vlogs, where I just kind of talk off the cuff on my phone about random things, from working in the only pachinko parlor in the United States to, I don't know, sandwiches. I mean, it just whatever goes on my mind, I start talking about it. But anyway, guys, first off, I want to say, Shawn, thank you so much for being on the show. And safe travels on your journey out of North Carolina. I know you'll probably miss Bojangles. Maybe? Are you going to miss Bojangles?
I don't know. The last time I went to Bojangles, I stopped in some podunk town in South Carolina when I was driving to a con, and it was a really shitty sandwich, and I haven't eaten there since.
Oh, now you're always going to remember Bojangles as that shitty sandwich.
Right?
That's tragic. But yeah, definitely, guys, check out Shawn Long. And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening. And as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone. And definitely check out RGT85, because it's the dopest video game show on YouTube. And the man deserves everything. Congratulations, Shawn, on your full-time venture, and good luck with your voyage.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Guys, have a great evening.